football, I mean, you get literally everybody. I'm going to go Chargers win the AFC West. Kansas City's the wild card team. Broncos third, Raiders fourth. So I'm going to lean into Jim Harbaugh. I think Najee Harris is the perfect running back for this offense. They brought Mike Williams back, a physical receiver. I thought their improvement last year was remarkable. I think they'll keep improving. We've got to be honest about Kansas City. They're not winning all those close games again. Their offensive line is in total flux. At left tackle, they're going to start a left tackle that's never started. They let go of Joe Thuney, their best offensive lineman. I think Denver made two big swings on defense with Hufanga and Greenlaw. I think they both pay dividends. I even think the Raiders will be viable. Geno Smith, they got their O-line set. Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, Max Crosby. I think their defense has some players. They were all banged up last year. They gave the Chiefs fits twice. This division, I don't think the winner of this division wins more than 12, whoever it is, and I don't think the fourth place team wins fewer than 8. So I think this is the best division going away in football. I mean, the coaching is Jim Harbaugh, Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and Pete Carroll. And Pete's got Chip Kelly. And Andy Reid's got Spags. And Kansas, and then all of a sudden you got the Chargers have Jesse Minter on defense with Harbaugh. This is arguably the best coach division in the history of the NFL. So my division winners, I'm going to do it like last.
Wow. Well, so then he has the Broncos missing the playoffs. Yeah, this is. I think that this division right here is essentially what the NFC North was this last season. I could see it very much being kind of like who's it going to be? You know, the Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos. You win this game, you win the division, and heck, you have the 1 or 2 seed. You lose it, you plummet all the way down to the bottom of the seeding, or maybe even out of the playoffs altogether. I think at this point, when you think about how these teams have played in the past, especially against each other, just look at the last few years of all 4 of these teams. And obviously we know the Chiefs have been reign supreme, and understandably so. But you've had either bad coaches, bad quarterbacks, bad coaches and bad quarterbacks, great quarterbacks, bad coaching, like all the different iterations. And yet these games have been so close. And now you have these teams with great coaching, good to great quarterbacking, developing quarterbacks, however you want to look at it. These teams now are so much more significantly better run, all of them. But obviously, again, we're really looking at the Chargers, Broncos, and Raiders, since the Chiefs have obviously, been the gold standard. The Chargers are better now. The Broncos are better now. The Raiders are better now. And again, those games were already coin flips. It's only going to be more of that. And the Chiefs have been able to take advantage of the inefficiencies and the inadequacies and the inability to just know how to play winning situational football that they're not necessarily going to be able to do anymore. So, I mean, if you tell me that every single one of these teams just splits with each other, I wouldn't be shocked. To me, it's going to be what team can pull off a 2-0. If anything, it's probably going to maybe be something weird where the Broncos go 2-0 against the Raiders, but the Chiefs go 2-0 against the Broncos. I could see it being. I could just see the divvying up of this divisional record being honestly going in every direction. And will it come to? Because again, we saw the Broncos. They should have went 1-1 against the Chiefs, but then you have the blocked field goal. We've seen that the Raiders could have beat the Chiefs, but then you have the fumbled snap or whatever the heck it ended up officially being. And you're probably not going to have that type of stuff. You'll probably have at least one of those instances happen with at least some of the games that are played amongst each other. But I just think it's going to be for a free-for-all. And I love it. I can't wait. I talked about this so much about the NFC North going into last season, where I was like, this is awesome. Like, the NFC North is can't miss TV. Packers, Vikings, like, let's go. Lions, Packers, Lions, Vikings, like, I'm like, let's go. Like, this is awesome. This is awesome. And it didn't unfold exactly how I would have thought, especially with the Chicago Bears, like, definitely, obviously, not being as good as many people, and myself including, thought that they were going to be. And the Vikings, I thought they were going to be a great team, but they were even better than I thought. And so, but that was awesome football. That was awesome football. I'll take those games any day of the week over the Eagles versus the Giants. Like, that's a skippable game. Even the Eagles versus the Cowboys, which is always notoriously an amazing game, both games, because it's, home and away. Both crowds are kind of crazy, and two iconic franchises. But, like, obviously last year was kind of nothing going up against backup quarterbacks and whatnot. But, like, we're going to see the Broncos and Bo Nix take a step forward. We're going to see Justin Herbert and Harbaugh take a step forward. We're going to see the Raiders, Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, like, take a step forward. We're seeing all these teams take steps forward. And the question is, will the Chiefs either be able to stay the same, or can they take a step forward in their own right? Right now, it's hard to see how the Chiefs are taking a step forward. It doesn't mean that they're taking a step backwards, or that their lack of taking a step forward is still not enough to win this division, win games, or even win a Super Bowl. But there does feel like there is a catching up. But without a shadow of a doubt, the Chiefs have endless more experience of winning and playing high level football than all of these teams combined. In terms of at least, like, current structure. I'm not talking about historically. I don't care what happened in the 80s, the 90s, the 70s, whatever. So that obviously, that is the massive advantage to the Chiefs. I wouldn't say, because this is where Colin, I think, takes it a one step too far, where he's like, they're not going to be able to win all these close games. Yes, historically speaking, when we see a team that wins a lot of close games, when they're back in that situation again, the chances of your success go down. And there really was a series of, like, kind of wild events that had the Chiefs kind of continue to be able to win some of these close games. And you are imagining that some of that is going to go away. But you also have to imagine, I don't know exactly what they're going to do with the O-line. You still have more time, obviously, in the offseason, the draft, et cetera, et cetera. But I have to imagine, too, to a degree, their offense should be a little bit smoother with Rashee Rice, although I keep saying this in all my Chiefs videos, like, he's most likely going to be suspended. I can't imagine him not. And, however many games it ends up being, who knows, 4 games, 5 games, 6 games, at what point in the season, like that, so that'll matter. There is the potential suspension for Xavier Worthy. That's definitely more of a wait and see situation. So you're just not so sure even what that offense is going to look. But when everyone is, there and ready to go, I do imagine that the offense at least will be, it should be better than it was last season, quite frankly, because of their collection of injuries. How much better, I don't know. Will their defense, I imagine, will still be quite legit. But like I said, the Chiefs have been able to really build a great foundation off of feasting off of the other teams within the division, and I really think that ends. I think that ended essentially last year, quite frankly, but definitely this coming season. So I think this division is going to be significantly more fun to watch. And what's cool about it is like, yeah, a couple years ago you felt like the Raiders could beat the Chiefs and whatnot, but it was like, but like, what are the Raiders playing for? And even the Broncos, right? Like, the Broncos could beat the Chiefs with, like, Russell Wilson even in, but it was like, yeah, like, okay, maybe they get into the playoffs, but, like, does anyone really think the Broncos are gonna make any noise in the playoffs? Like, no, not really. Now the stakes actually matter. Now it actually matters. Now you're really looking like, if the Broncos win the division, then they get home field advantage and they do this. Like, you're like, yeah, they can get to the AFC Championship game, and you're thinking that about the Chargers, the Raiders. Like, there's actual stakes. It's not now just like, hey, maybe we can beat the Chiefs and that'll be fun. Hooray. It's like, no, like, we can win the division. We can get home field advantage. We can get at least one home field playoff game. Yeah, whatever it may be. Like, it actually feels like it matters. And that's awesome. That's an awesome place to be. If last season, if the Broncos were able to win the division, and then they were the ones. I guess a little bit differently because you wouldn't necessarily say that the Broncos, if they won the division, they would have a bye per se. But let's just say in that case where they were able to play the Texans in their first game, it's just like they could have beaten the Texans. If the Broncos or the Chargers for that matter were playing the Steelers, they could have beat them. They could have beat the Texans. They could beat trying to think of the other teams that were in there. My point is that they actually could have legitimately won playoff games and progressed to the playoffs rather than just get beat first round against the Buffalo Bills on the road. Obviously a brutal matchup, especially with a rookie quarterback. The kind of like the beginning of this new era of the Broncos. It's a tough spot to be in. So all of this stuff now matters so much more because there's actual stakes involved, and it's just like, I mean, dude, if you're a football fan, what else could you ask for? So I'm not going to make any predictions right now in terms of who I think is going to win the division, but I really think it's going to be nearly identical. I am confident enough to say this right now that I think it'll be nearly identical to the NFC North of last season, where it's going to be like, oh man, if this one team just ekes out an extra win, it's like they win the division. If they lose, they could be dropping all the way down to the 5th, 6th seed, whatever it may be. But I also absolutely could see 3 teams making the playoffs here. I think there's a couple wild cards with some of these and wild cards in terms of playoffs, but also just like wild cards in terms of like, what wild card means in terms of like what some of these other teams are doing and what they'll look like in terms of their rebuild, what's the next step that they take as a team that could still land these teams. Because Colin, I guess, right, let's just use the Broncos for an example. The Broncos were in the playoffs last year, and now this year he essentially is just he's having the Patriots in there and he's having the Bengals in there, when last season it was the Broncos and oh my God, there's another team like the Steelers. So yeah, it does feel like the Bengals will be in there, but to say that the Patriots are going to be able to leapfrog a team like the Broncos, like I do think the Patriots are going to be significantly better this season. Like that's my point. Like I see the Patriots making legitimate steps forward. But I don't know. Those wild card matchups might come down to like, are the Patriots able to pull off a win against the Bills, and are the Broncos able to pull off some wins against either the Chiefs or the Chargers or something? Like, are they able to pull off those wins, or are the Bills able to be like, no, I understand you're better, but you're still 0-2 against us, and the Broncos end up pulling off a couple more divisional wins against the top, and now they come into the wild card. But again, I really very much believe that the Broncos could actually just win the division as well. So like I said, on March 15th, 16th, whatever, like I'm not prepared to say who I think is going to win the division. But it's definitely fun to contemplate. And I hope we do get a mixed bag division like this. Like, again, football is so much better that way. So much better, as much as Kansas City Chiefs fans don't want it to be. I already know all the Kansas City Chiefs fans are going to be like, oh, yeah, here we go. This is what they say every year. This is what they say every year. Always doubting the Chiefs. Well, I remember you guys saying that to me all last season when I said that I don't think that the Chiefs are as great as everyone thinks that they potentially are. And you said you're just doubting Patrick Mahomes, and now you're going to doubt him. You're going to doubt him in the Super Bowl. You're going to doubt the Chiefs versus the Eagles. And I actually didn't watch the Super Bowl. I don't really remember what happened. You'll have to remind me. So let me know in the comments below how that worked out. So maybe the Kansas City Chiefs, this is the year. Because I also said, and I'll end it here, I said that the reign for the Kansas City Chiefs of winning that division is over. And Sean, long time commenter, me and him battle a lot, diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan, season ticket holder for however many years. He's like, they're gonna win the division for the next like 10 years. He said something like crazy, and I was like, what are you talking? It was one of the first comments I ever had with him when I was like, what are you talking about right now? And to be fair, he also did say that the Chiefs were going to four-peat, and they didn't even three-peat. So yeah, we're gonna see. It'll be jarring if another team can win this division. That's for sure. It'll rock the world of the Kansas City Chiefs fans and, quite frankly, a lot of national NFL fans. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please, let's try to have this conversation without people automatically jumping to, everyone's doubting the Chiefs, the Chiefs, the Chiefs. This is a conversation about the division as a whole, not just the Chiefs. It's not only all about the Kansas City Chiefs. We can talk about the Broncos. We can talk about the Chargers. We can talk about the Raiders. We can even talk about the Chiefs in a way that's not an automatic doubt or downplaying them. We can have real conversations. It's going to be okay, Kansas City Chiefs fans. I promise you, it's going to be okay. But please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much. See you next time.